Hello there, friends. Welcome to Lizards of the Toast. It's time to do a deck explanation for one of my favorite decks I have. I've heard the term pet deck, and I would say this is probably one of mine. One of three of my pet decks. And by pet decks, it is a deck full of special things that I just love. And it's not necessarily the most powerful, but it is pretty powerful. So we have Gruul Prowess here with the Druid. All right, we have some foily boys in here, boy. All right, so we'll get right into it without further ado. Thanks again for joining me. I sure do appreciate you guys for watching the videos, and I love making them for you to watch. So thanks again for joining us here at Lizards of the Toast. No relation. So what do we have in this deck? Let's explain it. We've gone through this deck list. It just changes a little bit. So we run Dragon's Rage Channeler. We, of course, run a playset of these 4 Dr. C. Dr. C with a PhD. You get a 3/3, and it's almost for free if you do things correctly. So, Dr. C. This allows us to see our top card. That Surveil is just great. Delirium's good, too. Getting that flying damage. It's almost always going to go through. It's a 1-drop. It's red. It fits. We love that Surveil. And then probably one of the best red creature cards ever made, in my opinion, we have Mona the Swift. And in a Prowess deck, why would we run this? Who can say, right? I mean, who can say? We have Soulscar Mage, which is Mona Light, but it does have an interesting effect. Which, when Scam was bigger in the meta, I found this to be a very good card against Scam, because that many -1/-1 counters on that creature instead would be a real help against things like Fury. And in this deck, it often would let us Lightning Bolt, something like that. Just adding those counters. So we're running 4 Soulscar Mages. And here is a new card in the deck. We have the Questing Druid. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 4 of these, and one sometimes finds its way into the sideboard. Questing Druid is great. A wonderful dual duty. You have the instant Seek the Beast, which you can play on your opponent's turn. Whenever you cast a spell that's white, blue, black, or red, put a 1/1 counter on Questing Druid. That is Prowess, kinda. And it sticks. It sticks. It sticks, my friends. So that's very fun. Now, Mutagenic Growth. This one is just great in here, and because this is a deck explanation, let's go ahead and show why Mutagenic Growth is so important. So let's say turn 1, we play Mona. Turn 2, we play a Mona. So we'll have 1 mana up. We can pay 2 life, hit these. Okay, so that's going to give +3/+3 to each of those with the Prowess trigger. We have 1 mana up. If we play something like a Lightning Bolt, that's going to be huge damage. So that'll be 3 damage. That'll add to the Prowess. So let's see. Gosh, yeah, 13 damage, right? If my math serves me correctly. So yeah, turn 2, we can get 13 damage through. So Prowess is powerful, and I still love it. Love Prowess. I love Gruul Prowess. And because, we don't play blue, it's going to be Gruul Prowess. We don't like the Teamer Prowess. We've seen it. We've watched it. Doesn't excite us. Doesn't excite the palate. It's not a pleasure for the senses as Gruul is. So this, in turn, we have our Scorched Broccoli here. Our grilled broccoli, as it were. Mutagenic Growth, though, that being paying with life is just wonderful. So I run a Crash Through in here. And why do I do that? Because if you get Crash Through, keep it in your hand. There's 1 in the deck. Keep this in your hand, brothers and sisters and siblings. Keep it in your hand. Because creatures you control gain trample until end of turn, and you can draw a card. So this will trigger the Prowess. The Prowess people will get, if we got blockers, that trample is huge. Lava Dart. Oh, love this card, right? Deals 1 damage to target creature or player. You can flash it back by sacrificing a mountain. That's going to set that Prowess afire, my friends. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. Taking care of those 1/1s. Doing all types of work. Lava Dart, we love you. So yeah, Lava Dart is going to really trigger that Prowess. And we have lightning bolts right here. We have lightning bolt versus the dragon. We have a lightning bolt versus the knight. We have a lightning bolt killing a bear. And we have a lightning bolt killing a skeleton with horns. So we're running 4 lightning bolts, obviously. Manamorphose. I've noticed Manamorphose, which is one of my favorite cards in Magic, if not my favorite card in Magic. We run 4 of these in here. Now, I've seen people running 2 of these, which I don't quite understand. So 4 of these. And because we are a spikeling, we of course run Abundant Harvest. So when you play the sorcery Abundant Harvest, you of course name land or non-land, and then reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal one of the chosen card types. Put it into your hand, then put the rest on the bottom of the library in a random order. So this axe is a land. These are lands, but they're better than lands because if we don't need lands, because this deck is so low to the ground, if we don't need lands, we can get other things we need. And because they can find lands, guess what? Our land count can go down. So we have light up the stage, exile the top 2 cards of your library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. Wonderful, because let's say we play the 2 of those because Questing Druid, that's why. Now, in the early days when I was running this, before Questing Druid, I ran 4 light up the stages. And actually, what else was it? The other red one that came out in Crimson Vow, I think it was. Similar to this, it's 1 in a red, just like that, though. Because of this, we just run 2 of these, so it just evens things out, and we have the dual duty of that being a Questing Druid. Underworld Breach. We're not running a Breach deck here. It's not Gruul Breach, not Storm. We're running 2 of these, just 2. Late game, it's wonderful to play out things from the graveyard because you're constantly just filling your graveyard. You've got the Surveil, so this just acts mid-game, late game is something to utilize your graveyard. But be careful, you don't want to take the Delirium away from Dr. C. A couple of those, and we got Mishra's Toy here. We're running 4 of those. They, of course, don't trigger the Druid, but again, they give us that card draw. We can peek at stuff, and it's free to cast, so that's a free Prowess trigger. So think like... let's say like turn 2. Well, you know what? Let's go a little forward. Let's say turn 3. So turn 3, we have that. Play a couple baubles. A mutagenic growth. Maybe we sacrifice a mountain. Get a lava dart out of there. That's going to be huge. And that's the kind of thing, that's the kind of scenario where you want to save up right here, this crash through, just to really send it home. So the deck, I'd say it's pretty straightforward. It's good to, have a little prowess counter so you can keep track of that and there's no disputes. So I like to have a little notepad with this one. In any case, we'll get these picked up. We'll look at the sideboard. Oh, you know what? Let's look at that mana base. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh. So this mana base is not as tight as the Gruul Poison Storm. But we got Woodsy Footsies, running 2 Wooded Foothills. We've got 2 Bloodstained Mires. We've got 1, 2, 3 Arid Mesas, and we've got a Scalding Tarn here. And this is a special one because this is the one that I always say, bridge shuffling much. And I like to have that one because it's damaged. But that's special. I like that. And we have 1, 2, 3 mountains. These are our fetchables. Fetchables, delectable fetchables. There we got 7 fetchables. And we have 8 fetchers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you could even run 9. And you know what? I oftentimes switch these out for other ones. Just to keep my opponents at the LGSs on their toes. They never know, man. I've pretty much got all these fancy new petrol sleeves, so who knows what he's playing? Who knows? All right, where is that sideboard? And it's good to have a Manamorphose token. I also, in this deck, if you have foreign language cards. I have a regular one there of the Abundant Harvest just to show when I play it. That way my opponent doesn't have to listen to me say what it is. They can just say, that's Abundant Harvest. Here's an Abundant Harvest for you to look at, and that's what that card is. Just being nice, because that's what we are. We're a nice guy. And these right here, little fancy things. I love these little lands. They're so cute. These are my Manamorphose tokens, so we can go get what we want from Manamorphose. Pretty much we want red and green. So that's what those are. We got red and red, green and green, green and red, and green and red. Anyways, let's talk about that sideboard because it's pretty interesting. Now, this is one that is in here, and it's like, okay, you're in here. We can play you, so we do. But it is good. It's a finisher. Generally, Gigantha is going to do work for you. And it's nice. It's just always there to have this always available to come to hand. So as a companion, Gigantha. New in the deck, Cursed Totem. So activated abilities of creatures can't be activated. So when we come against certain decks, okay, certain decks, we always put this into our deck. Similarly to the Blood Moon, which works with these two Alpine Moons. Now, sometimes, depending, I will add another Blood Moon, but not always. Usually I like this. Alpine Moon is 1 mana, and it goes along with our low to the ground plan here. Blood Moon is 3 mana. That's expensive in this deck. If we feel like we need it, we can run it, though. And it just works with Alpine Moon. Now, here is something that really is wonderful in the deck, is Dragon's Claw. Whenever a player casts a red spell, you may gain 1 life. Now, that's interesting, Tony. So if we're going up against Burn, we're going to run 1, 2, 3 of these. I guess you could do 2, but 3, you're guaranteed to get 1 soon. So we're going to want 1. Running 3 of those is what we want to do. So we're coming against artifacts, right? Artifacts. So we got Ancient Grudge here. It's a wonderful card. And for that little cost there, that flashback, you can cast it right out of the graveyard and get rid of another artifact. Love Destructive Revelry, and I love Cindervines. And I'm like, do I put 2 Cindervines in here? Should I have 2 Destructive Revelries? Both of these have good things about them. So if these guys find their way in the deck, that's fine. And I think Destructive Revelry, in a way, is a little better than Cindervines. Just because it is an instant, costs 2, where Cindervines, to do that, kind of costs 3, really, right? Because you sacrifice Cindervines for 1, target artifact or enchantment, Cindervines deals 2 damage to that permanent's controller. So this enchantment, essentially, it has this ability. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, Cindervines deals 1 damage to that player. That's its enchantment ability, but then attached to that, it's like having Destructive Revelry attached to this. So that's the case. Them's the breaks, brother, sister, sibling. All right, what do we have here? Unholy Heat, and really like this version of it. It's not too expensive, and it's kind of scarce to find, really. Deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Delirium, which we're very frequently going to have, deals 6 damage instead if there are 4 more card types among cards in your graveyard. That's beautiful. So this can take care of big problems on the board. There's our Alpine Moon and our Blood Moon. So, getting into it, what kind of things, like what do we sideboard out, you know? It all depends what we're coming up against. But basically, we have a real good bunch of stuff if we come up against almost anything. I don't feel that Chalice of the Void is a good choice for this deck. Because I think you're going to do more harm to yourself, to be honest. As low to the ground as it is, you don't want to be doing damage to yourself all the time. so to speak, in that term, like where you're not necessarily doing damage to yourself, but a lot of our spells are one. So, not to mention our spells that we play for free to trigger our prowess. So it'd be kind of I mean, it's just not a deck. I don't feel that the way that I've built this would be very good with that kind of hindrance on myself. I don't feel like Blood Moon is a hindrance. Now, with fetch lands, a problem that you'll come across in this deck is anything that messes with your fetch lands early in the game. So that's something to think about. Trying to think of some good Okay, things that discard. Like when Scam had Fury, this deck was just, you wouldn't even want to play a matchup like that. Even though I'd say like it had probably like a, I whooped the old pre-Fury ban Scam a bit with this, but mostly I took a whooping just because that Fury would come out and our prowess guys would be just taken right off the field. Maybe you'd be lucky and you'd be left with a druid. Maybe they'd take out the druid and one other and you'd be left with like a monastery swift spear or something. But it was no good. It was like a race to the bottom for yourself. Other than that, though, this is a pet deck of mine and I love to play it. Very fun to play. I think Prowess is a great build, especially for new players to the format because it's not just a burn deck. You're learning all types of interaction quickly. You're going to be winning using, new players like to use dice. There's a lot of reason to put tokens on things. I think it's way better as I said, we're going to be going over a very budget-friendly Prowess deck that we'll be doing a small series about learning Modern, getting into Modern, and building this deck and how to play it, variations. So join us for that, and thank you again so much for joining me on the channel. And all the new subscribers, absolutely appreciate it. Thanks. You guys have a good one, and I'll see you on the next one.